Cool. Alright guys, so I'm just going to walk you guys through how I do these resin cornhole boards. First thing I did was buy the wood, obviously, cut it all up, glued and nailed it together, drilled the hole, did a spray paint on the entire, I did the wood, touched up the wood a little bit here and there. If there's any nicks, fill in the gaps, all that stuff. And then I spray painted the entire thing. So what you're seeing on this board right here is all spray paint. This one is spray paint and resin. It's like a pretty decent mix. And so I let that dry, the spray paint, and then came back last night and put a very thin layer of resin on it to seal the wood in, because sometimes the wood leaks. Resin has a tendency to find it's like little nooks and crannies to escape through. So that's nice and dry. So now what I'm doing is I'm just pouring a thick layer of resin on top. I'm going to spread it out with a paintbrush. Hopefully that's all I need, because that was 2 gallons right there. That should be fine though. And then I'll show you how to add the waves, which is all that is just more resin with some acrylic paint mixed into it. So now I'm just going to spread the stuff out. This stuff's self-leveling. A very important thing when you're doing this is to make sure your boards are level, or else you'll have an inch of resin on one side and a ½ inch on the other side, and you'll have to sand the whole thing down, and then it's a lot of wasted time. So I've been working with resin for years, so I'm like pretty comfortable with it. But if you're going to try this, I would say do a practice run on some scrap wood or something first, or even on some canvases, so you can kind of get a feel of how the resin moves and all that, and how sticky it is. It's basically maple syrup, pancake syrup that doesn't come off your hands. You gotta try really hard. I'm seeing some spots build up. Just moving it all around. Make sure I don't leave any holes like that. There's surface tension with it, so you got to kind of break the that surface tension in order for it to flow into these gaps, which is why most people do this. It's like awesome consistency today. If it's really cold out, this stuff it's not your friend. It's super thick, and I've made the mistake of leaving resin in my work van and then going to a sea glass windows event, and the resin is so cold that it comes out like almost like it's thick as cement, smooth but real thick. So you got to put it by a heater to heat it up. So summertime's perfect for this kind of creative endeavor, whatever. I'm seeing like little gaps down here. Then the fun part comes up when there's when we start putting the waves in the heat gun. That's when you see the art part instead of the work part. Do all kinds of stuff here. We do the cornhole boards. We do like the sports logos and all that stuff, and then we'll do the resin ones, the straight up painted ones. American flag ones are really popular. Those are fun. With the American Stars and Stripes bags. Alright, so now I'm going to take a quick look around. Looks pretty awesome. So there's bubbles and stuff here and there, but once I throw the heat gun on it, those are going to go away. That heat gun's like 800 degrees. Like no joke. So we're going to try to get to this texture, which I guess would be like a satellite view of the water. So I'm going to start. I got my resin and white acrylic paint mixed already. I'm going to go a little easy at first. couple things. You know, the waves are bigger closer to the shore because there's more breakers, so you want more of the white paint to be thicker closer to where like the shore would be, and then thinner as it goes out to the ocean. So like that, something like that. Try to do that here. It's easy to overdo this stuff because it looks so pretty. All right, this is the fun stuff. 800-degree heat gun. Be very aware of where it is. If you leave this in one spot for too long, it's going to burn the resin, which you can fix if you catch it early, like within the first hour. Otherwise, you can have a divot in your resin because it completely changes the texture of it when you burn it. So this tape is all going to come off too soon, which is going to get my floor extremely sticky and messy. But I have that razor scraper there to get it off, and I'm going to paint these floors in the next week or so too, so I'm not too worried about it. If you leave the tape on after it dries, what happens is you get razor sharp edges, and you got to sand them all down. Which, if you were doing a, I don't know, like a portrait or even like maybe some furniture wood like this, then I would say you want to keep those edges and sand it down. But with this, we want smooth edges so the bags don't get ripped. So I'm just letting the tape fall off as soon as it starts to peel away. I'm not going to fight it. So I'm just jumping around here because I want to. I don't want it to heat up too much in one spot. I'm not going to let it flow where it's going to go. This stuff has about a half-hour work time, depending on the volume you mix. So if you mix, I've made the mistake in the past of mixing 2 full gallons together, knowing I was going to use them, but I was going to use them over, maybe like 45 minutes, but it heated up in like 15 minutes and ended up melting one of those plastic, one of these Home Depot plastic things, which is pretty thick plastic. So I don't know if I said in this video or the last one, but if you're gonna play with resin and try to make some cool stuff, definitely want to experiment on something you don't mind losing first, like a canvas or a piece of scrap wood. I would use actually canvas board because we do this at my shop as a class, resin pour painting, which is basically the same exact thing we're doing now without the expensive, like crazy powerful heat gun. We get smaller ones that we give to the customers, but yeah, we do it on canvas board because stretch canvas, the stuff gets pretty heavy, so it'll actually settle in the middle and make it middle heavy. So when you come back to pick it up, all your paint's going to be in the center. It doesn't look bad, it just doesn't look even. So I know a lot of artsy people out there are pretty anal about making everything look, a lot of Virgos out there or something, I don't know. Things look perfect. Alright, cool. So get like, oh, I gotta fix it like, sorry. Alright, so now we get all these center lines up here. I'm gonna start, oh, if you can catch the light and see the bubbles pop, that's so cool. See that? Super satisfying to watch. See them all popping? It's a great thing about resin. Now when this dries, this is going to be like crystal clear, super smooth and shiny. That's what we're doing. Isn't that cool? The reason I put a coat of clear resin down first is because white, when you put acrylic paint in resin, it sinks to the bottom of the resin because it's denser than regular resin, or the paint's denser than resin, so it's going to sink to the bottom. So the white, if I put blue on here, blue paint with resin inside the resin, the white would actually sink below the blue, or would mix with it, and you wouldn't get the same like oceany wave effects You just get like light blue colors that are kind of moving around. This stuff takes like about 12 hours to dry. In ideal situations, you want to make sure you're in a dust-free environment, or else you're going to have a lot of hairs and stuff. And I am so like unkempt that I should be wearing a hairnet right now, so I'm very careful when I go through it all before I leave for the day. That looks so good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably add a little more. You got to be careful when you put your heat gun. Holy shit! Fucking on fire. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. This is the first board. This is the second one, so I'm just gonna a little bit more. I don't want to overdo it, but I do want to have like a nice white area and maybe another thin set of waves down here I can play with. Yeah. One of those things like when artists highlight their drawings or paintings or whatever. There's a certain area you get to when you're doing too much, but the highlights look so good that it's hard to stop. So it's kind of like a learning curve. You gotta end up doing that on your own when you start learning to draw and paint and all that. And I consider this highlights. It's really hard to see on the video, but there's actually like a gap between the white and the bottom of the wood that kind of casts a shadow. And I couldn't get that without layering the clear and the white. Very cool. It's actually like natural shadows because it's drifting a little bit. Very cool. This is a live video, so I'm not going to have like the finished product for you guys right now, but I'll throw it up on the on our Facebook page when it's finished. It should be dry tomorrow. I might take a little bit of sanding, put some polyurethane on the top, throw the legs on, and we will be good to go. Hey, what's up, Felicia? All right. How you holding up? I think you were my last customer in the shop before the world ended. All right. Is that drifting? That's so dope. I got tables and furniture like this. It's like super fun to do. That's what we're going for right there. Oh yeah, babe. You guys drinking yet? It's Friday, let's do it. If this was a painting, I think a really cool thing, I think I saw it on YouTube or something, but obviously these are cornhole boards, so you want to make them smooth, but if this was a painting, I'd take some real rocks and throw them like around here, and then let the heat gun blow the waves around the rocks. That was like a super cool look. Super cool. It's a lot better than watching somebody sand wood outside, huh? That's always my other option. I'm like, oh, I'll sand a couple other cornhole boards I'm doing with my giant dust mask, or do I do this? I think this is cooler. We can get some cool, like, things going on in there. Now I'm going to take a step back and look at it before I rip off the tape and start chasing resin around right here. Just make sure that's like kind of cheating here. I'm using my hands, but they're already covered in resin. And worst case scenario, I spray over that and then I seal it with polyurethane. But I'm gonna actually ask the person that ordered them because I think it looks kind of cool. But it's fixable. Except resin in your hair, that's not fixable. Yeah, so this one is the one we just did. And here's this one. Thanks, Felicia. I am sweating in my shop. We did the, we skipped summer this year, spring this year. We went right into summer. Now I'm taking the tape off the hard way. Mind you, I am so talented, I did all this with one hand. Haha. I need a videographer. All right, so now we're gonna get tons of drips coming down the sides. We'll give it a few minutes, let it happen. And then I'll hit it with my one-use brush, unless I could save it with some alcohol. But I just wanna make sure everything's nice and smooth. This is more aesthetic than practical. But it also seals the wood in too, so if I can get it a nice coat, which actually I think I got a bunch left over, maybe I'll just do this with the extra. Make it all even all around. Oh yeah, I got tons of extra. Just dip it in the white. Maybe dip it in here too. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, I like it. As long as these chairs don't give out on me, I'll be happy. I almost just dropped the whole thing. Looking back, I probably should have spaced them out a little more so I could reach this side. Whoops. Fix that. As long as I don't do it on this one, I'll be good. This one's like a half hour old and it's already getting a little stiff, so. But it's looking dope. I've had this paintbrush for like 10 years and I'm pretty sure this is the last time I'm going to use it. I remember because it has the blue tips and it was like the first time I used it to do something and I was like, how come the blue doesn't come out? I still don't know why, but pretty thorough when I wash my stuff. If you get some drips the next day, they pop right off, or you can sand them off if you really need to, but I like to try to keep the resin as smooth as possible. So once you start sanding, you're gonna have to sand it all the way down to smooth again. I'm hanging around my shop for a while, so I'm going to be checking on these every, like 15 minutes or so, just to make sure there's no drips that end up falling around. And honestly, if I just don't like the way this looks later on the sides, I could just spray right over the resin and coat it with poly, and we'll be good. But it does kind of, I don't know, we'll see what it looks like when it's finished. Gives it like an extra little dimension of artwork, whatever, kind of full circle. You craving a tailgate party? Let's do it. So cool. Look at my poor floors. Got a floor scraper. Holy crap. That is a ton of resin on the fucking floor. That's alright. My landlord knows what I do. He's, I'm actually painting scraping the floors and painting them this week, hopefully, so I won't have to look at that anymore. Lots of drips. Imagine how messy this would be if you did it on a bar top. Holy shit. Alright, I can get a little more resin. These two boards over 2 days, first coat and then the flood with all the water in it, took 2 gallons of resin. So I said it before, if you're gonna try something like this, make sure you practice on something that you don't care about, or a piece of canvas or something. Pretty cool. Now I think on this guy over here, I can take off the tape in the center, and we should just get a little bit of a flow to smooth it out. Please. Please. So we won't have a sharp edge. So if I left the tape on there, when it dried, it would have come up. It had little sharp peaks that I'd have to sand down. But if this works out right, the resin should smooth right down and be perfect. No work, no sanding. I always say that, but then I end up fucking having to sand stuff. Oh, PG-13, guys, sorry. Quarantine. All right, this one, maybe a little too early, but I'm gonna see what happens anyway. Oh, cool. Get that 3D effect going all the way around. Very cool. I don't like that. Look. So the bags, actually, I just got them in the mail today. The bags for this one are like two really nice blue colors that the customer picked out. So that's a cool thing, too. If you're watching, customer, what do you think? Freaking dope. And they're going to have a 3D kind of effect, too, when you see them in person. Because there's so much depth in them. What's up, Anthony? I'll see you, baby. Cool. So now I'm just going to check on them every like 15 minutes, wipe away the drips, and then send a picture. Well, actually tomorrow, after it dries, I'm going to put the legs on, seal up everything with polyurethane, and that's it. They're good to go. Nice, huh? All right, I'm gonna sign off because I gotta wash my hands. They are pretty covered in freckles. All right, guys. Well, if you guys want to check some more videos out, let me know. My shop's empty, and I got the space to do fun stuff. So this was pretty satisfying, actually, doing this. But so dope. All right, guys. Take it easy. Thank you.